Hi, I'm Shannon from houseimprovements.com, and in our video today I want to show you how to install this submersible sump pump in our new sump pit that we just installed in a previous video. So if you haven't seen the installation of the pit, you might want to check that video out. I've just taken the lid off to get it out of the way. Basically what we've got is a dual pump system. So the main pump that you see here is a 120 volt submersible pump. I forget what it is, 10 gallons an hour or minute, I'm not even sure. They vary a little bit, so it doesn't really matter on the size. So that's the 120 volt. And then right here, we've got a 12 volt backup. So if the power goes down, this one automatically just takes over and kicks in and runs off a 12 volt battery. So there's different combinations. This happens to be all one unit. Purchased exactly like you see it. Everything you see right here is what was in the box, so it's fairly user friendly and pretty quick to set up. So, and actually it was fairly inexpensive as well. So the main components of this, so we've already talked about the pumps, but over on this side we've got all the electrical requirements for the 120 volts, so it just simply plugs right into the wall. This here is basically a switch attached to the float right here for the main pump. So once the float indicates it needs to turn the pump on, the switch activates power and it turns the 120 volt pump on. On this side, all this wiring here is to do with the 12 volt. So we've got a couple leads here that are going to hook to the battery. Really simple. This is just kind of the information center and the charging system, because this particular one does trickle charge your battery as well. This wire is just the electrical hookup from the pump to this system. So really simple. Both pumps each have their own built-in check valve. So here's a check valve here, check valve over here. And what that does is when the pump turns on and pumps water out, that check valve is a one-way valve. So when the pump turns off and the water that's in this vertical piece of pipe wants to come back down, it can't. It's stopped at the check valve. So okay, so I think I showed the floats. They're both here. This is for the 120 volt, and this little guy over here is for the 12 volt system. So everything's right here. It's all in one package. Nice and neat. A lot of wires, but we can deal with all that once we have it out of the way. We're doing a bit of a temporary setup here because there's going to be some changes down the road, but we're going to set it completely up so you can see, how it's going to work. Basically in the hole, our pit's about 2 feet deep. There's already water in it. We've got some blocks sitting in the bottom just to set the pump on so that it's up off the bottom a little bit and it isn't sucking in any sand or gravel that might be down in there. So I can simply lower this pump in there. Get it sitting on my blocks. Get it sitting about where I think I want it. I'm just going to get my electrical stuff out of the way. So we've got it sitting down there in the hole. Our lid has a slotted hole in it for all the plumbing and wiring to come up out of, so that it has easy access. And then once the lid's on, it's fairly safe. Kids aren't going to fall in it or whatever, or pets. Okay, so again, pretty simple setup. I've already prepped up the plumbing. So basically it just is gonna fit into there and over into there, and then we'll adjust the pump so everything reaches nicely. This is just a rubber connection. So it kind of helps to make a quick disconnect if you need to, but it also probably works a little bit good as an isolation setup. So any vibration from the pump isn't transferring through all the plumbing as well. So I can see that this needs to slide over there just a little bit more, and then we should be fine. I'll maybe glue that fitting first, and then I'll tighten these rubber clamps over here, or these steel clamps on the rubber fitting there. So actually, before I do that, I should just talk a little bit about the couple different ways that you could drain it. Our system, we're allowed here to pump this pit right into the city sewer system. Some municipalities won't allow that. So your pipe may have to come up and out and actually out the wall of the house and drain to the exterior of the home. If you got that type of setup, ideally you want a fair bit of pipe on the outside so the water is running away from the house quite a ways and not just going right back down to the outside of your basement into the weeping tile and back to the pit. You're just recirculating, so you want to get it out and away. Like I said, here we're going right into the public sewer system. Now that's a bit wet. I should dry that out actually. Darn it, I don't have a rag on me. I've got some paper towel over here. I'll just grab quick. We had an old pump set up here temporarily overnight, and I've just got a bit of residual water in that line. So just dry that out. Put some glue all the way around here. Stick the two together. Okay. Now there is some strapping and stuff here on the wall to help support this pipe so that the weight isn't just sitting solely on the pump, or put a block of wood under there or something to hold it up. So I can tighten up these clamps for our connections. Okay, just like that. Just glue out of the way. So we don't have our permanent electrical supply right close and handy here. Like I said, there's a bit of another renovation going on here as well. So I'm just going to temporarily run this off of a extension cord. So this end I'm just going to simply plug into the cord, which actually I've got here. There is a little transformer here. This needs to be plugged into 110 as well, and then plugs into that yellow box that runs the 12 volt, and this is the charging, the charging apparatus for that. Right now, today, I don't have that quite ready to go yet, but we will run another power bar over here just to plug that in. So once you get the pump in the hole, your plumbing hooked together, they send you a fair bit of cable here and some zip ties as well, some plastic ties. So we can kind of get all the electrical around the pipe here and fasten to the pipe to hold it up out of the hole. I'm just going to do that here now. So got to get all our cables, make sure nothing's twisted up or kinked or anything like that. So just kind of bring everything up here neatly. We'll put one cable tie down here just to hold things up. I won't get too carried away with this, but I just wanted to strap a couple pieces up out of the way. Okay, so we've got that hooked up there. We can actually, I won't hook up the 120 just right away, but what I will do is hook up the battery system. This here comes also with some pieces on the back, so you could zip tie it, attach to this pipe or whatever, but there's not a lot of cable on this between the yellow box and the battery connection. So you need to make sure you're at least close enough to get the connection of the battery. So we've got, in this case, we've got a deep cycle battery. It's fully charged. Make sure it's fully charged before you set this all up so that your trickle charger has a decent chance to get started with it. Now that audible, you probably heard that. That's the sound you'll hear if the battery goes low enough. This gives off a warning to let you know that it's actually depleted its charge, or it's no good, or whatever the case may be. There's a few indicators here with lights, kind of gives you a visual. You know, every day as you walk by or whatever, just make sure that everything's working properly. You can actually turn the alarm off. Like so. Actually, that's on. There's a test button there. Okay, so we've got that. Now, this particular system, they do have a battery backup system that you can buy, or sorry, the battery setup that you can buy specifically made for them. And they've got a probe that would normally go in one of the battery cells, and it sets off an alarm if the battery fluid gets too low, so that you know you need to maintain your battery. Now, when you're using anything but their recommended battery, you're told to cut this lead off and actually connect it to the positive cable as well. Otherwise, the alarm will be going off all the time. So we've got that. This cable is the main connection down to the pump from that system. So now, before we have the 110 volt plugged in, by rights, I should be able to manually hit the float right now and activate the 12 volt pump. Now, it's not going to pump water because it's actually not in the water, but I'll just check it here manually. I think you can probably hear that running. Now I can't get it to shut off because it's not getting a prime. Okay, so when that, you know, I'm just testing to make sure that pump and everything's working. I just left that unplugged here for right now. Right back here is the charging port for that other cable, but your system could be a little different. But okay, so we've checked that float. That seems to be okay. It's kicking the pump in. Now I can plug in the 120. And again, like I said, I'm just using this cord for right now. Now this one, the float's in a bit of a cage, so I'm going to see if I can actually get a hold of it to manually check it. There, that kicked it on. You can hear that there was barely enough water in there to run it, but and there it shut off already. But if we had more water in there, it would actually run for however long it needed to, let the float down, and it'd be shutting off on its own. The one thing I noticed on this one, there's no real way to set your level of the when the float activates the pumps, because they're kind of fixed right to the pump setup itself. So really the only way you can adjust that is by putting less or more blocks or thickness underneath the pump. It doesn't really matter really how much water is below your pump. You're more concerned about the fact that it can't fill up high enough to overflow your actual pit. And in our case here, our float, the water level wouldn't even come up probably 15 inches from the top here before the float comes on. So it's going to keep it well down there. Buys a little bit of time. You know, if the pump is having a little trouble keeping up, it buys a little bit of time there too. So in our setup here, all this basically goes together. There's a lid that fits over here that goes on all this. Like I said, fits down in the hole, keeps kids and pets and that sort of thing from falling down there, and you know, kind of keeps it all nicely contained. So again, typically you want to have your electrical requirements right here. For this type of setup, you'd need at least two places to plug stuff into. This being such a large box, I guess they've got it set up that it would work. The other plug would still fit if this is in the bottom. So, about the only other thing to speak a little bit about is anytime you have a battery, you don't want to set it directly on concrete. You want it on a block of wood, or in this case, we've got it in this plastic case here, which actually has a lid and everything. So if there's any spillage, battery overheats, bubbles oil over anything, it's all contained in there too safely. So this is probably the best setup for you, is right there. I think that's about all I can really tell you about this. So pretty basic setup, especially when it all comes as one unit like that. Really everything was there except for buying the battery outside of outside of that, everything was in the box that this pump was in. So I don't think there's anything else I can tell you. Like I said before, we installed this sump pit, so if you need to do that, you might want to check that video out as well. This pump is small enough, it'll fit in, I think, up to even like a 5-gallon pail, if that's all the type of size you've got for diameter for your existing pump, sump pit. This one actually will fit inside of that, so, which was really common for years and years. A lot of people just sunk a metal or a plastic pail in the ground, and that's what they used. So, okay, so I think that's it. So I hope this helps your process in installing or doing the similar type thing, and good luck with that. And we've hopefully given you enough tips to even maybe help you decide what kind of pipe pump that you want. We've got all kinds of other information. You can check us out on YouTube. Obviously, you're there watching this. You can check out our website. We've got a forum there, which is the best place to post any questions you have about this or any other project you're doing. We've got Twitter, we've got Facebook. There's all kinds of ways to keep connected with us. We've also got a Patreon account set up, so if you'd like to pledge us on Patreon, that'd be awesome. We just appreciate everybody's support. So anyways, good luck with your project, and thanks a lot for watching.